Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting news story to share with you, so let's get started. Despite my outward calm demeanor, I could feel the tension rising as my wife of 32 years paused while changing out of her work clothes. "What's on your mind, Melinda?" I inquired gently. Her response was measured, a mix of casualness and caution in her tone. It was Thursday evening, a common occurrence lately. She had arrived home significantly later than usual, her workplace only a short 15-minute drive away. "I know about the affair," I stated, trying to maintain composure. "And I have a feeling it's been going on for a while." Her reaction was swift and cutting. "We haven't been intimate because you're unable to," she retorted, meeting my eyes squarely. "Your issues started before the medications, and since you began taking them, nothing has changed. Except for the weight gain." My jaw clenched as she continued, pointing out the impact of the medications on our relationship. "You are aware, just as I am, that those medications are the soul. With the medication keeping my blood pressure stable, I was grateful to have avoided a stroke, heart attack, or worse. Unfortunately, for some mysterious reason, my blood pressure had suddenly become erratic. There were times when it was so low that I struggled to even stand, and other times when it surged so high that I could hear the pounding of my pulse and feel the pressure behind my eyes. Waking up in the hospital after being in a semi-coma for 3 weeks, I was disoriented and confused. Although that was almost 7 months ago, the large doses of medication I now took had stabilized my blood pressure, but had the side effect of impacting my physical intimacy. The frustration of this situation weighed heavily on me, exacerbated by the antidepressants that only exacerbated the issue. Even the little blue pill provided more challenges than assistance. "Don't try to deceive me," I said sharply. "There are many ways to connect intimately. It used to be an important part of our relationship, even before my health declined." "Fine," Melinda replied irritably. "Lie down, and we can figure something out." "Maybe I'll return the favor if you put in the effort," I said. "You know I'm not shy about this, and don't act like you don't take care of things yourself when you need to." My stomach churned with anger. "Yes, like I'm going to do that for you now," I growled. "I bet your underwear is soaked with your boyfriend's juices, just like it is 4 or 5 times a week." Her expression shifted from surprise to dark anger. "You've been inspecting my underwear? That's a disgusting invasion of my privacy." "You're worried about your privacy?" I asked incredulously. "Not the fact that I know you're sleeping with other men. I can't find relief unless I take care of it myself. But you're out there having sex like an adulteress." "Don't call me that," Melinda snapped. "You know I have needs. I've always been a very sexual person. I offered you other forms of intimacy and you refused. I've made peace with the fact that I had a choice. Stay by your side as a husband and companion or watch you die in a coma. Do you know how hard it was to see? As the one I love seeing you in a vulnerable state, I took on the responsibility of changing your diapers, despite it being a degrading and unpleasant task. It was my obligation as your spouse to support you through this challenging time. I continue to devote my time every day to be by your side, except for Friday evenings when I go out. On the other hand, you often arrive home 2 hours late multiple times a week, despite our home being just a short distance from your workplace. Your solo activities on Friday nights, which involve meeting men, dancing, drinking, and engaging in intimate encounters, have been ongoing for quite some time. You have even propositioned me after being with another man, fully aware of your actions. While there were instances where you offered physical intimacy to ease my discomfort, it was done hastily and without consideration for my feelings, to which I declined." Melinda's expression turned resolute as she addressed the situation. "Let's be honest. I have been unfaithful with another man. I acknowledge my own needs, but there is no emotional bond with him like the one we share. To me, he is merely a fleeting diversion, nothing more a few toys around the house, and you never minded when I used them. You even liked watching me use them. In fact, you only used them on me to help me feel good until you could get back to normal. Think of him as just another toy, just something to distract me and make me happy." I laughed, the sound bitter. "That guy, why not just use his name? Dave Pfizer. And a toy doesn't take you dancing or to restaurants. You're used to that now, aren't you? Melinda's composure faltered. So you know his name? Fine. We used to go out for dinner, then dancing and all that. We took amazing vacations, cruises, and trips around the world. But with this virus, traveling stopped for months. You haven't been able to stay awake past 8 in the evening, she muttered, then paused. I'm surprised you know his name. I think you've been spying on me. And what about Bob Edwards? I take it Dave introduced you to Bob, steps in, and keeps you entertained when Dave is busy. I continued bitterly. Melinda's face darkened. Damn you, you really are spying. Can you please stop checking my underwear and keeping tabs on me? It's creepy. All you do is scold me, making me feel even worse. You know you can't manage without me. I take you to your doctor's appointments, cook your meals, and even playing with your dog exhausts you. Your spying drives me insane, and tracking my every move is incredibly disrespectful. Those guys are just toys. I took a few deep breaths, trying to calm myself as I felt my blood pressure rising. What about the things you've said to them about me, claiming I'm incapable of anything? Sitting at home, playing with your dog, you told them you wanted me to lick their juices off you and how hot that would be. Melinda's cheeks flushed, and she looked away. Did you hear that? Yes, I said some pretty wild things, but it's not real. I was just boosting their egos. Both of those guys get a kick out of thinking they're humiliating another man, especially their boss. I'd assume you know they both work for you. Your company, but they get so cocky when I stroke their egos. I want them to feel like they're on top of the world. They know I use them for sex, but they have no idea I think of them as nothing more than toys. Darling, you're my husband. Yes, I know, I'm kept in suspense by these guys, but it's the same as using a toy. Wait a minute, you know about our private conversations, you're eavesdropping on me. Damn it, this is unacceptable, Melinda exclaimed. Do you have a bug in my bag or in my apartment? I stared at her, my heart heavy and my anger simmering. She was deflecting, trying to shift the blame, but I wasn't going to let her. Fine, I know you're angry, but we've been together for so long that we've become one. Yes, I've been with a couple of guys, but I always take care of you. Well, maybe not in a sexual way. I tried something, but you refused. I want to make you happy. These guys are nothing more than simple toys. Seriously, you don't want to admit that you're dripping with one of those guys. I stayed out of it, but you dismissively refer to those individuals as mere toys, lacking empathy for my emotions. This disregard is degenerate and extends beyond mere physical desire. Your enjoyment seems to stem from disregarding my feelings and showing a fundamental lack of respect. My face flushed with anger as I witnessed her indifference to my pain. Do not let your blood pressure rise, Melinda callously remarked. She equated these men to modern playthings, urging me to mature and accept the situation. She rationalized her actions, claiming they were insignificant compared to our enduring bond. I will be with you for the long haul, regardless of seeking pleasure elsewhere, she bluntly stated. They are just toys, and you are my one true love. Dinner will be arriving soon for you as I head out for a day to relax, she abruptly informed me. I had planned to inform you later, as I needed to return to the office to complete some tasks. I have a contract tomorrow. And since you are aware of my plans, I want to be transparent. You can go to bed now, and we can discuss the details when I return from work tomorrow. I will be back in a couple of hours at the latest, but I understand that you will already be asleep by then. It is important for you to view these individuals as mere toys. Please try to relax. I was taken aback by her boldness and felt a surge of anger. Despite everything that has happened, you still intend to engage in intimacy. This is unacceptable. I detest that term. It is disrespectful and demeaning. You seem determined to test my patience. I have been considerate of your feelings by keeping my actions private. If you want to label me as unfaithful, so be it. Maybe when I return home, I will simply slip into bed without cleaning up, smelling of sweat and intimacy. I expect an apology from you. Please leave. I walked away and my loyal border collie, Roscoe, followed me. It is comforting to know that I still have a friend who shows me respect. That night, I had trouble sleeping in the uncomfortable guest bed, but I was determined not to. I would have slept in my usual bed if there had been a lock on the door, which I would have used. I suspected that she hadn't bothered to shower off the filth before climbing into bed. I needed rest as I knew the next day would be busy, and I hoped I could endure it. The next morning I got up early and sat at the kitchen table sipping coffee when Melinda entered. I was planning my day, having completed most of my tasks, but still having a few things left to do. I didn't respond to Melinda's greeting as she poured herself a cup. "Listen, we need to talk," she said. "I'm sorry for throwing my activities in your face. I did take a shower before going to bed, only to find that you weren't there. Maybe we can sit down and talk things through like adults once you get over your little irritation." I felt incredulous at her mentioning irritation. I made an effort to keep a neutral expression and remain silent. I have needs, and these guys scratch that itch, but they mean no more to me than toys. I love you. We've had a wonderful marriage. We've raised 3 amazing children. I want to reassure you that I am committed to being here for you. It is important for us to have a harmonious relationship, but I need you to understand that if you are unable to meet my needs, I may have to address them elsewhere while ensuring it does not disrupt our home life. I realize I may have crossed a boundary. I respectfully ask that you refrain from eavesdropping on my conversations. I will search for any possible listening devices, remove them, and if any recordings were made, I urge you not to listen to them as they may cause further distress. Despite this, you seem determined to continue your actions. I express quietly that you do not seem remorseful for the impact on our marriage. I am curious to see how your associates will react when faced with consequences. It seems you are not considering terminating their employment. Melinda mentioned your potential embarrassment if your misconduct is exposed. It may become public knowledge that their dismissal was due to overlapping responsibilities with me as your partner. I will proceed with caution but still plan to attend the club tonight. As it is Friday, we'll be arriving home late tonight, but I plan to spend tomorrow with you. Perhaps we can relax together, cuddle, and enjoy some intimate moments if you're feeling up to it. I must rush off to work now, but I will return home later to change. Something to ponder. We may not rely on my salary or career, as I mainly work to pass the time. Maybe I should consider resigning and staying home with you, engaging in activities as companions. Since my partners are typically only available in the evenings, it is worth contemplating. It's been good having this conversation. She left with a smile, a bounce in her step. In some aspects, Melinda was correct. I would have been troubled if I had listened to the recording of her talk from last night, but I had already listened to it. I skipped over the more intimate details quickly. Her venting only reinforced my determination, though not my equipment. She mentioned that Ron is aware of our situation in a more diplomatic tone. He's observing us and appears to have surreptitiously placed listening devices for surveillance. She spoke louder, addressing Ron, implying a secret meeting location for a potential kiss. Bob, identified by his voice, muttered under his breath that there would be no termination of employment for either of them. He was concerned about his reputation and impending retirement, indicating minimal interaction in the future. Despite an attempted search, no bugs had been located, suggesting the possibility of professional intervention to uncover any hidden devices. Disregarding the potential eavesdropping, the partners acknowledged the risk of exposure and consequences if discovered. Melinda hinted at undisclosed intimate activities, highlighting frustration over a breach of boundaries. Bob reminisced about being reprimanded for a disrespectful comment, leading to tension between the individuals. The conversation hinted at escalating animosity towards the unmentioned individual. I realized that what the 3 of us have is just sex. He called me an adulteress. I was very close to kicking his ass. I'm in great shape, and he's so weak he wouldn't stand a chance. I mean, I actually imagined holding him down and spanking him, like I did with one of the kids years ago. I even threatened to go to bed tonight without showering. I know he'd bawl like a baby if I climbed onto his face and rubbed myself against him. He's going to learn who's the boss now. You already know that, don't you? Yes, ma'am, Bob replied. It's so hot hearing you talk like that. I'm hard as a rock just imagining you doing it. Come on, let's go blow your mind. How about we call Dan and see if he wants to come over and join us? I didn't want to hear any more. That was more than enough. I thought about the steps I had already taken. My business had been mine long before we got married many years ago. Melinda was entitled to half of our shared assets, which were substantial, but I had changed my will to leave my half to our children. I made the decision to exclude her from my will entirely. While some states prohibit disinheriting a spouse, mine allows it. Despite Melinda's hopeful predictions about my longevity, I had my uncertainties. If I managed to live long enough, my plan was to end my marriage to this unfaithful woman. She would receive the minimum amount permissible by law. As I sat in my chair, Melinda entered the room that evening. Dan, call me back," she muttered on the phone. "I'm getting ready to go out. I've left you several messages. If you don't respond, I'll call Bob. One of you had better meet me. I don't want to be stood up." Melinda paused, looking at me sitting placidly. "Sure, you overheard me chatting to my dolls," she remarked, grinning as she stood in the doorway. "That's all they are," she added in a nonchalant yet condescending tone. She vanished into the bedroom and reappeared 20 minutes later, now donning high heels to complement her little black dress. "You seem to be in a good mood," she remarked confidently against the hardwood floor, raising an eyebrow. "I hope our little chat last night and this morning about my friends, who, as I've said, mean no more to me than battery-powered toys, has finally sunk in," she continued as her smirk deepened. "You're smiling and seem very calm. I think the drink helps too," she added, nodding toward the whiskey bottle on the side table and the full glass in my hand. I nodded silently, swirling the amber liquid in the glass. "Well, I'm glad you've finally grown up enough to accept that my little indulgences on the side are just me scratching an itch. But drinking too much probably isn't a good idea, especially not with your medications," she added dismissively. I set the glass down and called Roscoe over. The border collie instantly perked up, trotting to my side. "Watch this," I said, gesturing toward the dog. "Lie down, roll over, sit, beg." Roscoe executed each command flawlessly, his tail wagging enthusiastically. I looked at Melinda for a reaction. She yawned, showing little interest. "That dog has been your only distraction for months now. Not very impressive." Her lack of enthusiasm didn't discourage me. I kept interacting with Roscoe, giving commands and feeding him treats from the plate on the table next to me. The plate contained 4 neatly arranged pieces of meat. Melinda glanced briefly at the plate. "You do look happy and content," she finally remarked. "I hope you realize that my little diversions don't hold much significance. They are merely ways to find some enjoyment," she stated firmly, waiting for my acknowledgement. I paid no attention to her, instead instructing Roscoe to spin in a circle. "Watch this," I exclaimed with enthusiasm. Melinda folded her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. "I will admit, you have matured," she said with a hint of sarcasm. Her words were like background noise to me as I focused on Roscoe. I picked up another piece of meat, and Roscoe eagerly performed another trick. Annoyance flashed in Melinda's eyes as she checked her phone once again. "Why aren't those guys here?" she muttered quietly as her fingers impatiently tapped on the phone screen. With the last piece of meat held between my fingers, I raised my hand. Melinda's attention shifted and she narrowed her eyes, studying the area closely. "That almost resembles," she started, her voice trailing off as realization hit her, causing her face to pale. "It can't be," I stated evenly but purposefully. "I'd remove the batteries from your toys." Roscoe, sitting by my side, wagged his tail obediently, waiting for the treat in my hand. A heavy silence enveloped the room. Melinda's smile vanished, replaced by a mix of shock and anger as she stared at me. Finishing my whiskey, I placed the empty glass on the table and leaned back in my chair. "Thank you for staying until the end," I said calmly and composedly. "See you in the next video."